Have you ever just looked around and gotten the feeling that something is fundamentally off? You know, that the way things are set up, the stories we're told, they just don't quite add up. Well, today we're going to peel back a layer and look at a pretty grand deception. Not one from some spy movie, but one that might be hiding in plain sight, affecting everything from our bodies to our thoughts. Okay, let's get into it. I mean, you can feel it, right? There's this sense of unease everywhere. One of the sources we looked at describes this feeling perfectly, that so many of us feel both divided and also so demoralized. It's like we're all being pulled in a million different directions, stuck in this state of confusion and just exhaustion. But what if that feeling isn't some cosmic accident? What if the system feeling broken is actually a feature, not a bug? So here's a really critical idea from one of our sources. What if the whole point of our core systems, like education, was never to create empowered, free-thinking people? This quote claims the goal was actually the opposite: obedience, to turn out people who could follow instructions and just fit into a slot. It makes you wonder, right? If that's the design for school, what other parts of our world are working exactly as intended, just maybe not for our benefit? To really explore this, we're going to dive into two powerful, almost competing worldviews that our sources lay out. Think of them as two invisible forces, each offering a totally different explanation for the world we're living in. One is all about control and consumption, and the other? It's about connection and symbiosis. Okay, so this first worldview is, well, it's pretty startling. It comes from a document that basically suggests we're living through a kind of hidden biological warfare. The central claim is that humanity is being systematically weakened and manipulated by this ancient, intelligent force: parasites. Now, what's fascinating here is just how much this theory tries to explain. It's not just about, getting a stomach bug. It alleges that our immune systems are being deliberately suppressed. It claims these things can actually change our personalities, even push behaviors like promiscuity to help themselves spread. The theory goes even further, suggesting some common medications, like antidepressants, might actually be feeding them, creating this awful cycle of dependency. It's a wild idea that connects so many modern problems, cancer, depression, under this one single umbrella. It reframes them not as random chance, but as part of a coordinated attack. But what if the real secret to how the world works isn't about control, but connection? Our sources present a totally different model, and this one is pulled directly from the natural world. From fungi, actually. This is the worldview of the mycelial network, this huge, intelligent, and deeply collaborative system that's literally operating right under our feet. And this image right here illustrates it perfectly. This is not just a bunch of mushrooms. This is mycelium. It's the root system of fungi, and it forms this vast single organism, a web beneath the soil. And get this, for every 3 feet of a tree's root, there can be over 2,000 feet of mycelium. It's basically a biological internet, and its structure looks uncannily like the neural pathways in our own brains. The famous mycologist Paul Stamets takes this idea way further. He doesn't just see a passive network. He actually suggests it's sentient, a giant, sensitive membrane that's communicating and responding to everything around it. So this isn't a parasite draining its host. It's a model of a massive, interconnected intelligence that actually supports the entire ecosystem. So, okay, we have these two biological models. But how does this jump from our bodies to our minds? Well, this supposed battle between the parasitic and the mycelial isn't just happening in the dirt or in our gut. It's also happening inside our heads. I mean, think about it for a second. An idea can act just like a parasite, right? A belief system can infect a culture, change behavior, drain our collective energy, and even program people to act against their own best interests. It hijacks your mental real estate to replicate itself. And here's one of the tools for that kind of mental hijacking: mala fides. It's a Latin term for arguing in bad faith. It's when you're not trying to find the truth, you're just trying to win. You're using logic as a weapon to manipulate an outcome. This is a core feature of that parasitic mindset. It's not about working together. It's all about control. So how might this be used in the real world? Well, one of our sources, A Critique of Events held by Tony Robbins, alleges that some of the techniques used look a lot like what it calls brainwashing 101. The claim is that by controlling basic biological needs, sleep, temperature, food, and then creating this cult-like dependency, you can make an audience far more suggestible and much more open to psychological programming. But just as a mind can be controlled, it can also be expanded. And that's where the mycelial model comes back in. It offers this incredible countervision, a mind that isn't isolated and easily influenced, but one that's interconnected, resilient, and always growing new connections. And this really brings us to the most important question of all. Are we just stuck with the mental wiring we have, or is it actually possible to fundamentally change the structure of our own consciousness? According to Paul Stamets, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. And the key is something called neurogenesis, the brain's ability to create new neurons. He even speaks from personal experience, talking about how he believes he overcame a severe stutter in a single day by basically forcing his brain to create new neural pathways. He literally reset his own operating system. And you have to look at this. This slide is just incredible. On the left, you've got a brain scan on a placebo. Normal connections between different parts. But on the right, that's a brain on psilocybin. The number of connections just explodes. It's a perfect picture of a hyper-connected mycelial brain. All these new pathways are lighting up. Parts of the brain that don't normally talk to each other are suddenly in conversation. This is what an expanded mind can literally look like. So we've laid out two models, two invisible worlds that operate in our biology and our psychology. And what that really brings us to is a choice. The sources we're looking at present two very distinct paths of transformation, two ways of being in the world. So on one side, you've got the parasitic path. One source, Owen Cook, calls this the collapsed narcissist, someone who's just desperate for validation from the outside world. It's a state of being stifled, poisoned, just numb, and running on autopilot. It's a path that drains energy from everyone around you. But then there's the mycelial path. This is about being unstifled, like a little kid who hasn't been programmed yet. It's about creating an oasis of immunity to all that negative influence, being present, tapped in, adding value to society, and this is the most important part, cultivating your own strong inner voice. And this right here is the call to action. This kind of transformation, it's not a one-and-done deal. It's a constant, conscious decision. It's an act of self-liberation. It's about taking 100% responsibility for your own inner world and actively choosing, day after day, to break free from any programming that doesn't serve you. And all of this brings us to the final, and honestly, the most powerful idea we've talked about today. This whole battle between these two forces, it isn't primarily happening out there. The most important network you will ever build is the one inside you. Because what if the grand deception isn't some secret group or some biological plague? What if the ultimate lie is the one that convinces us that we are powerless, that we are isolated, and that we are disconnected from our own intuition? That feeling of being numb on autopilot, that isn't just a symptom of the problem. That is the prison itself. And so the ultimate truth is that you hold the power to change it all. You can actively choose to build your own inner mycelial network, a web of new thoughts, new habits, new connections that creates real resilience, that oasis of immunity, and fosters a deeper, more vibrant state of consciousness. We're going to leave you with this one last, pretty profound thought from Paul Stamets. What if cultivating this inner network does more than just make you feel better? What if it connects you to something so much bigger than yourself? What if your consciousness isn't just this brief flash in the pan, but a part of an eternal, interconnected web? Now that's not just a path to transformation. That's a complete redefinition of what it even means to be alive.